On a recent episode of The Dave Ramsey Show, Dave Ramsey absolutely runs over his co-host, George Kamel, in regards to a question about investing and making sure that you have enough money in retirement to be able to use that money all the way until you pass away. But the problem with this is not only is Dave running over his co-host, he's taking the caller along for the ride. Let's have a listen.
I have about $120,000 saved for retirement. That's across my IRA, my Roth IRA, my wife's Roth IRA, and the 401k.
How old are you?
And I'm 30 years old.
Good for you. Well done.
Thank you. I feel, from what I've been running the numbers with, that I'm on the teetering edge of coasting financial independence. And I'm trying to best understand my plan with the end in mind. So how I'm going to turn that nest egg when I retire into income. I found on your website a little article that talks about 4 to 5% withdrawal rate. And I was trying to run the numbers around that, and I thought I was close. And then about a month ago, George Kamel released a video that said that the withdrawal rate for a 30-year time horizon should be closer to 3%. So if I can establish financial independence comfortably, then I was wondering if I could ease up on baby step 4 to pay off the house faster.
Okay, I'm a little confused because I don't know what the hell George is doing a 3% withdrawal rate, because that's absolutely wrong. I'm going to have to find out where that video is and get it taken down.
Well, they didn't take down the video. In fact, this is the video that the caller is referencing. It's talking about retiring at the age of 35 and having enough money to be able to live off of your income based on your investments alone from the age of 35 all the way up to the age of 90. So the context isn't really there for Dave to understand. I mean, we're talking about a whole different subject. Can we also appreciate Dave's look of what the hell is going on in this particular scene? I thought that was great, but it gets worse.
Because that's just wrong. You don't need to have a 3% withdrawal rate. That's ridiculous. Or I hope you misunderstood. I hope we didn't put out trash like that.
Was it 4 to 5%?
No, it shouldn't be 4 to 5%. It ought to be more than that. I mean, if you're making 12 in good mutual funds, and the S&P has averaged 11.8, and if inflation for the last 80 years has averaged 4%, if you make 12 and you need to leave 4% in there for inflation raises, that leaves you 8. So I'm perfectly comfortable drawing 8. But if you want to be a little bit conservative, 7, but sure not 5 or 3.
Because first of all, I am somebody that has gone through all of Dave Ramsey's baby steps. You may not know this, but I went through baby step 1 to 7, and I got a lot of gratitude to give to Dave, but I kind of disagree with him in this point, because here's the issue I had when I reached baby step 7. What's next? I mean, all he says in baby step 7 is build wealth and give, but what does build wealth actually mean? I mean, does it mean that I just do my 15% into retirement and then more somewhere else, or what? How does that actually work? And that's where I felt we needed like a Dave Ramsey graduation. Like, what's the graduate course? Dave Ramsey is like the bachelor's degree. How do we get our master's degree? And that's where I actually found the FI movement. Specifically Choose FI, and shout out to Brad Barrett. He has a great podcast they produce every single Monday. I'll include a link to that podcast in the description below. But I have a question for you. Do you think Dave Ramsey is off course in calling out his co-host? Drop me a comment down below with your thoughts. But in this video that George put out about retiring at the age of 35, you do got to be a little bit more conservative, because there's a lot of things to take into mind. From the age of 35 to 90, a lot of things could happen. And that's what I want to take a look at. Now, you heard Dave say it in the video clip. 12% average on a mutual fund. I don't know about that. How do you average 12% returns on a mutual fund? The worst part about it is, especially when you're in baby step 7, he never tells you what that mutual fund is. He just talks about good growth stock mutual funds. So I did some digging and I made some calculations, and that's what I'm gonna walk you through on this video so that you can be the judge if you think Dave is right or if you think he's wrong in this particular situation. So imagine in George's video, at the age of 35, you decide to retire. How is that possible? Well, that is where the FIRE movement comes in. Financial independence, retire early. And what that does is it allows you to build up enough of a nest egg that you can theoretically live off of your money for the rest of your life. Here's how it works. The first thing you want to do is understand how much money you are spending every single month. So if I pull up my handy calculator here, let's say our monthly expense is $5,000 a month. I'm going to take that and I'm going to multiply it by 12 months in the year. That gives me a total of $60,000 that I'm spending in expense. Now, the goal would be I want to continue to maintain that expense level. I don't want to become more lavish. I don't want to do much more than that. In fact, what I want to try to do is cut down some of my bills, maybe pay off my mortgage, so that way that money can be used for fun things like traveling and enjoying life. But I'm going to keep it at $60,000 a year. What you do is you take that and you multiply it by 25. This is based on some research. This is based on the Trinity study and all the different calculations within the FIRE movement. That means I need a net worth of $1,500,000 in order to safely retire. And once I hit that number, I'm good to retire. And I can live off that net worth for the rest of my life. See, it becomes more of a number, a net worth number, and not so much an age. It's not about getting to the age of 65 to retire. It's, hey, if you can build up enough money to make $1.5 million, you could retire at the age of 35 or 40 or 45 and enjoy life before you get old. And I'm going to share some calculations on how that works in just a moment. So the Trinity study, which is part of Financial Independence Retire Early, looks at a safe withdrawal rate of 4%. Because what you have to figure is there's going to be great times and there's going to be bad times. We got to figure out how much can I actually invest into a brokerage account that goes into something like VTI. So in my case, let's say I have $120,000 already saved up in a taxable brokerage account, and I want to continue to invest $5,000 a month. If that sounds like a lot, that's what I'm going with right now. You can adjust these numbers. I'll include the link to this calculator in the description below as well. But I'm going to choose $5,000 because the goal is you're on baby step 7, you've paid off your mortgage, or you have enough income to be able to put in $5,000 every month. For the next 10 years, at an estimated rate of return of only 7%, I'm not going to go with 12%, and you'll see why in just a moment, that total balance grows to $1,091,000. But I'm going to adjust this up just a little bit and say our estimated rate of return is actually 10%. I'll go a little bit lower than 12, a little bit higher than 7. That balance is $1.3 million. Now, it's not quite our $1.5 million, but I'm only going to live off of $40,000 a year. So I'm going to put this into a calculator and put Dave Ramsey's theory to the test. So we have $1.3 million. I'm going to put this over here in this particular Excel document that I just created. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit and put $1,310,000 in this starting balance. That's what this represents right here. Now, my yearly withdrawal is $52,400, and that's based on the 4% rule. Here's how it's calculated. It takes this total balance that I have and multiplies it by 4%. That allows me to take $52,000 out every year, or $4,366 a month. So that's not too bad. Let's say I retire at the age of 40. I can basically withdraw $4,000 from my investment account at $1.3 million. And because we're going to grow at a very conservative amount of 7%, at a measly 7% growth, my investment will grow by $91,700. That's with dividends and investment growth reinvested, of course. So that means next year, I'll now have $1,349,000 by the age of 41, and now I can withdraw $53,972. See, it kind of makes up for inflation as well because of the 4% rule. It's going to always take 4% of your balance in the year. And that means I could safely withdraw about $4,497 a month, or $53,000 a year. But my investment grows by another $94,000. And take a look at this. As this goes down the chain, all the way down here, by the age of 119, indicated right over here, my portfolio balance is $13 million. And I can withdraw a total of $45,000 a month. But hold on a minute, because I know this is unrealistic, right? Even if you say 4%, if you do Dave Ramsey's 8% rule, and he says we're going to grow at 12%, so I'm going to adjust these numbers, have a look. That means I can take off $104,000 on the Dave Ramsey 8% plan, and by the time I turn 119 years old, I have $29 million and I can withdraw $193,000 a month. Now, all the math people and everybody watching this is probably like, that just doesn't seem realistic, does it? And that's the problem with these type of calculations. You just never know this is just a perfect day scenario, which is very, very unlikely. So I thought, let me take a look at VTI in its worst years. When we're looking at things like 9/11, when we look at things like the Great Recession of 2008, COVID, and some of the downfalls of 2016 and 2018 where we had a little bit of a dip, what would it actually look like if I truly retired and took the returns from each one of those years based on the 4%, or in Dave's case, the 8% rule. Which one's actually going to survive? That's where this comes into effect. So I actually took the real rates of return, indicated right here, actual yearly growth of ticker symbol VTI, from 2001 all the way up to 2023 so far. Now, we're going to start with that $1,310,000 that we saved up to. So same scenario, but this is more realistic. So in the first year that you retire with your $1.3 million, you're super excited. Well, the yearly growth in 2001 was negative 19.62% because we had 9/11 and a few other issues, and we were still coming off of the dot-com bust. So your investment growth actually was a decline, a negative of $257,000. So you lost $257,000. You can withdraw $52,400, which means you're living off of $4,366 a month at age 40. But now in 2002, you're down to $1 million. And guess what? It drops another 3% that year. So you lost another $30,000 in your account, which means in 2003, you're entering with $930,000. And because of all that, your 4% rule is starting to dwindle away. You can see you can only withdraw $37,000 or $3,100 a month. So that could be a little bit hard because if you're only at age 42, let's say you have kids, let's say you have travel aspirations, you have a hard decision to make. Am I okay living on only $3,100 a month? Because it's actually declining. Whereas before, in this perfect day scenario, your money continues to grow. Look at your monthly income at $8,700 with the Dave Ramsey plan all the way up to $10,000 a month by the age of 44. But if we are actually being realistic, looking at the past and the fluctuations that happen in the market, that could be a little bit scary. And are you going to be okay with that? Sure, we could supplement with another job if we want to, but will that actually work for us? Something you got to keep in mind. As the years tick on here, what's interesting to me though is we start with $1.3 million, but by the year 2023 right now, we are actually at $1.8 million. Even despite all these red negative numbers that you see through the year, especially during the Great Recession where we dropped by 30% of our portfolio, if we hang on and we're smart with how we're budgeting our money in retirement, even if you're only 35, 40 years old, you're actually ending higher in 2023 than you started with, given the fact that you're continuing to use money and only live off of your portfolio. See, that's the magic of financial independence. One last thing I would like to point out is the Portfolio Visualizer. This is free, and I'll include a link to this in the description below as well. But let's say from 2001 to 2023, you started with your $1.3 million, but you're going to withdraw $6,000 a month. You're not going to worry about the 4% rule. You're not going to worry about flexing your monthly budget, as I just explained earlier. Instead, you're just going to withdraw $6,000. Doesn't matter about inflation, doesn't matter about anything. $6,000 a month is all you need to live from the age of 40 to the age of like 120. So check out what happens over the course of 22 years. You're now into your 60s, almost 70 years old. You have VTI, and that's what you're withdrawing at $6,000 a month. But check it out. Your $1.3 million, your final balance right here in October of 2023 is actually $1.2 million. This whole entire time, you've been chilling, and your money didn't really deplete. That's what's so powerful here about the FIRE movement. And that's what I don't understand why Dave Ramsey doesn't talk more about this. Why just stop at baby step 7 and leave it open-ended? That's what George Kamel was trying to explain. So I hope he doesn't take down that video, and I hope, to dear God, there's more conversations about this. How about we do it on this channel? Why don't we talk a little bit more about FIRE? I'd like to know your thoughts. Do you want me to dive a little bit more deep into this conversation to explain why this money works the way it does? To explain a little bit about those troubling times of 2001, 2008, and 2020, and how we can survive in retirement even despite that? Comment down below and let me know so I know to make more videos like this, but make sure you check out this video next. We'll see you on the next video.